If you're a student pilot, you probably felt it, right? That dreaded, queasy feeling in the cockpit. It can honestly make you question everything. But what if I told you that getting airsick isn't a sign of weakness at all? It's actually a completely normal hurdle, one that even a lot of seasoned pilots have had to get over. So let's dive into this and figure out how to conquer it for good. And listen, you are not alone. I love this quote from Captain Joe. He says, "I used to get motion sickness too. So if that's you right now, don't feel bad." He's a really popular aviation educator, and he openly admits he struggled with it, especially during his flight training in that intense Florida heat. He said the cockpit basically turned into a flying sauna, and that mix of heat, turbulence, and just intense concentration, well, that was the perfect storm for nausea. The point is, so many great pilots have been exactly where you are right now.
Okay, so to beat this thing, we've got to understand it first. Let's get into the science of why this even happens. It all comes down to a kind of battle, one that's raging inside your own head.
So what's the official word? Well, according to the FAA, motion sickness isn't a disease or some kind of personal failing. They actually define it as a completely normal response to what they call a sensory conflict. Basically, your eyes are telling your brain one thing, but your inner ear, the part that controls your balance, is screaming something totally different. Your brain just gets confused by the mixed signals, and that confusion is what triggers all those awful physical symptoms.
And here's a perfect example of that conflict in action. Imagine you're practicing instrument flying. Your eyes are glued to the gauges, right? They see a stable, unchanging environment inside the cockpit. But at the same time, your inner ear is feeling every single pitch, every roll, every little bump of turbulence. Your brain gets these two completely contradictory reports and, well, it basically hits the panic button.
And, this whole thing doesn't usually hit you all at once. The FAA says it's a progression. It kind of creeps up on you. It might start with something really subtle, like just a vague awareness of your stomach, or maybe you notice you're salivating more. If you try to ignore that, it can build up to cold sweats, then full-blown nausea and dizziness. At its worst, it can be totally incapacitating. The real key is to catch it at the very first sign, before it gets out of control.
All right, so you feel it coming on while you're flying. What do? Please, don't just sit there and suffer through it. There is an immediate toolkit of actions you can take right there in the cockpit to get back in control.
This is your immediate action plan. First step, cool down. Open up those air vents, get that fresh air blowing right on your face. It works wonders, I'm telling you. Step 2, look outside. Find the horizon and just lock your eyes onto it. This really helps your brain sync up what you see with what you feel. But you want to know the most powerful tool you have? Fly the plane. I'm serious. Taking the controls forces your brain to focus on the task at hand, which leaves a lot less mental energy to feel sick. And finally, the golden rule, always speak up. Let your instructor know what's going on.
And if you feel that anxiety creeping in and making things worse, try this. It's called box breathing. It's super simple. You just breathe in slowly for 6 seconds, then hold it for 6, breathe out for 6, and then just rest for 6. Repeating that simple cycle just 4 or 5 times can really calm your nervous system down and dramatically reduce that feeling of panic and nausea.
Now, fighting air sickness isn't just about what you do in the air. A lot of the time, the battle actually begins hours before you even get to the airport. Let's talk about some pre-flight habits that can really set you up for success. Think of your body like the aircraft. It needs the right kind of fuel to perform well. So about an hour or 90 minutes before your flight, have a light, kind of bland meal. Toast, crackers, a banana, those are great choices. Ginger is also famous for its anti-nausea properties, so ginger chews can be a lifesaver. What you absolutely have to avoid are heavy, greasy, fried foods. But don't make the opposite mistake either. Flying on a totally empty stomach is just as bad. This is a question I get all the time. It seems like such a simple fix, doesn't it? Just pop a Dramamine and you're good to go. But for a pilot, this is a huge safety issue. And the answer from the FAA is an emphatic, absolute no. You cannot take these medications before flying. The side effects, they're often listed right there on the package, are basically a pilot's worst nightmare. Drowsiness, blurred vision, impaired judgment. These aren't just minor inconveniences. They directly compromise the critical skills you need to operate an aircraft safely. It is simply not an option, period.
Okay, now for the best news of all. And I mean it, this is not a permanent condition. Your body is this incredible machine, and with time and exposure, it learns to adapt. This final section is all about playing the long game.
So, what's the magic number? Well, it varies for everybody. But most student pilots find that after about 10 to 15 hours in the cockpit, their symptoms just naturally start to fade away. Your brain and your inner ear finally get on the same page, and what once felt totally disorienting just starts to feel normal.
This timeline really shows the journey. In your first few flights, yeah, feeling sick is pretty common. But as you start to hit that 10 to 15-hour mark, you'll notice a real, tangible change. And for experienced pilots, air sickness becomes a pretty rare thing. Trust me, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
So what does the FAA say are the best permanent cures? Well, it really boils down to three key things. First is flight currency. Simply put, fly more often. Consistent exposure is the absolute best medicine there is. Next up is self-confidence. The more you trust your own skills, the less your brain is going to panic. And finally, aircraft familiarity. The less anxious and more comfortable you are with your plane, the less susceptible you'll be to getting sick. So let's end with this, because it's the most important takeaway. Feeling airsick does not, I repeat, does not mean you're not cut out to be a pilot. It's not some final verdict on your future. It's just an adjustment period. It's one of those things your body just needs time to get used to. With smart preparation and a little persistence, you will get past it, and I guarantee you'll come out a more confident pilot on the other side.